Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Cove Tenant Talks. We're quickly approaching our 20th episode. I'm your host, Kyle Burton, the Tenant Engagement Manager here at the Center for Ocean Ventures and Entrepreneurship. Very excited to welcome our guest today, Sheamus MacDonald. He's the co-founder of Sedna Technologies. Welcome, Sheamus.
Hi, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
I had to do that joke. So your background is quite interesting, probably the most applicable of all the kind of founders of companies here at Cove. Traditional fisherman by trade. Can you give us some background on your experience and your education leading up to the formation of Sedna Technologies?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in a commercial fishing family in Cape Breton. My father still commercially fishes. I graduated with my undergraduate degree in 2012 from St. FX in fisheries management. Went on to work in oil and gas for a little bit, and then went back into fisheries, completing my master's of fisheries management as well. So I'm commercially fishing myself, typically in the summer months, and with my time off, I began consulting with some smaller scale enterprises along the coast of Cape Breton and helping them kind of identify weak spots in their supply chain. In doing so, I was able to kind of put together an idea of how to optimize it. And at that time, my other co-founder, Alexander Stabino, he was working in supply chain technology. We kind of put our heads together and conceptualized Sedna, and here we are today.
Nice. How long ago did the company form?
So again, we kind of started discussing it late 2016, but 2017 is when we really put kind of the boots to the ground. We went to market in 2018 and have been in market since.
Fantastic. And I know you're working with some of the larger exporters of seafood in the province and across Canada. So lots of success early on.
Yeah.
I'm sure that experience of being in the fishing industry and working with all those technology partners along the way probably has been a big piece of that success.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of really understanding the pain points from experiencing them myself, and just being able to tell the story and educate on how the technology is used and what it can actually do is kind of where success comes from.
Fantastic. I guess I was with you at the Boston Seafood Show a few years ago, and I remember a lot of the conversations you may have had with some potential clients. But I heard a lot of people championing quality of seafood that comes from Nova Scotia. Can you just give us a little bit more background on why that's important and kind of how Sedna can kind of help solve some of those issues?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the biggest thing in terms of quality, if you look at Nova Scotia, for example, live lobster is a premium product. We're very fortunate to have the resource along our coast. And the global market for live lobster is continually expanding. So, Asia and Europe are becoming very, very big markets for live product. But getting the product that far, whether it be by air transport or other means, it takes a lot of work to get it there. So what our technology's been able to do with our clients is actually kind of trace back within their supply chain to find out where their best quality is coming from, as well as ensuring the product that they're actually packaging to send over is of top quality, that it will make it to market and that they don't have any kind of losses along the way.
Fantastic. Let's actually jump in and give the viewers kind of a better understanding of the company, some of the technologies, and again, some of those problems that you're solving.
Sure.
So let's just pull up your presentation here. Looks like we're good to go.
I'll put that in full screen. There we go.
Perfect.
Awesome. So yeah, as you just mentioned, what we look to do is future-proof seafood supply chains. So by future-proofing, what we're doing is kind of enabling our clients to actually understand some of the inefficiencies along their supply chain and preemptively stop anything that might jeopardize that quality, or as well just help improve that supply chain for them. So if you look at kind of the big problem that we're looking to address, we focus more so on premium products. So not necessarily the entire global seafood market, but it is expected to reach close to 155 billion by 2023. A big part of that is actually the growth in aquaculture, not just wild fisheries. And kind of the three biggest problems that exist within the supply chain currently is there's a lot of data collection, but a lot of it's done by pen and paper. So traditional practices, which lead to inefficiencies along the supply chain as paper is lost or something's miscalculated, which results in missed profit for our clients. Product loss, wastage, and improper handling throughout the supply chain. So this is kind of where we do most of our work, again, focusing on live seafood. So live lobster, for example, it's just if it's improperly treated along the supply chain, it might not make it to that next step. So it's understanding what that product might have experienced on the way through. And then finally, existing quality control practices. So whether you're a buyer purchasing from another supplier, you're buying directly from harvesters, you really want to be sure that you're collecting relevant data on the product that you're purchasing to be sure that it can make it through your supply chain and you don't experience any losses. So as we see here, this is kind of just a high-level overview of some of the supply chain, more specifically for live lobster. At the end here, you can see an individual scanning a tag. Well, that might not be exactly accurate how we use traceability, but it just goes to show that you can actually trace back to where the product came from. So what we do is we actually begin with a harvester. It could also be an outdoor company providing smolts or other small organisms to a larger producer. So what we do, and I'll go through these modules in more detail, but beginning with the harvester, we actually track the product. We're working with harvesters as well for live lobster, monitor the live wells on board the vessel. So not only does the buyer at this step know exactly where the product came from, but they actually know the conditions it was held. A very simple example is that if a lobster is held at a low dissolved oxygen level, it might not be a loss at this stage, but at this stage because of what they experienced prior. So what we do is enable our clients to actually have access to that data to better understand where the product came from. As the product then moves through the supply chain, we continue to track that water quality data as well as cold chain data to be sure that that product was kept in the conditions that you're actually purchasing it for. And if it wasn't, then you can again identify that you have to kind of work within your supply chain to address that. Or we actually, because we use real-time sensors, they can preemptively stop something before it becomes an issue. So using dissolved oxygen as another example, if the dissolved oxygen gets too low, they can actually change the water chemistry by adding oxygen or pumping up the tank and putting new fresh water in, which will actually keep the product alive as it moves further through the supply chain, again into transportation and then onto the final destination, whether it be a retail consumer, another distributor, or just their buyer in general. So our solution is an integrated ecosystem, which basically what we do is we allow companies to unlock transparency. So as I mentioned, we use traceability as a tool to identify where the quality is coming from. Again, harvesters, particular buyers, whether it's a hatchery, wherever the product's coming from, we can tag it and trace it all the way through. We combine that with real-time monitoring. So again, cold chain logistics, so temperature and humidity, as well as water quality data to be sure that that specific batch or lot of product is kept in premium condition. And what we'll focus on is those kind of data trends on how we can optimize supply chains and over the entire market. Our product is modular, so it's a combination of IoT sensors, enterprise software, and data analytics. Again, by modular, we mean that you can install our sensors at one point and then move on to adopt more technology of ours, and it can all be integrated into the same ecosystem with ease, or you can actually take the whole bundle and put everything together. And by combining traceability and environmental monitoring, we enable our clients to future-proof their seafood supply chain. So just a quick example of what we do currently in commercial fisheries. You can see here the boat coming to dock. So the lobster actually crated into 100-pound crates. When they actually received to the dock, it was typical for pen and paper practices where the buyer at the dock would write down the total volume of product that they're purchasing. The harvester would get a receipt of the paper copy. The Department of Fisheries would get a receipt, as well as the buyer would keep a receipt for the back office functionality. We use RFID technology to tag each crate, and that actually is also interconnected with their business operations. So accounting and payroll systems, everything's uploaded in real time to our cloud system in the back end. So one big advantage that our clients see from this is not only can they tell exactly where each crate came from where it was landed, the port, as you can see some of the information that we have here on the right-hand side, but also it's better for production planning. So now they can actually see in real time from the comfort of their office exactly how much product they have at the wharf. And that might be that they can sell that product faster. They can send a truck to go get it and get it back into the tanks so that the product remains alive. There's a number of different value propositions in the real-time data. This then further goes into inventory, packaging, and shipping. We do this in a number of different ways. As you can see here, just basic inventory, so they can scan the RFID, which uploads in real time to the cloud system, so they have complete traceability of the product, where it came from, and as it moves through the supply chain. And as it's moving to each step within the supply chain, we're correlating that with the sensors that are in that area to find out more real-time information on the way the product was stored. And finally, kind of our most exciting thing, which we just recently launched, is water quality management. So I think we'll go over some more physical parameters of these units in a second, but we developed a wireless sensor that basically works like an iceberg or can be submerged, that provides real-time water quality data to a mobile application, giving harvesters, giving aquaculture producers, really anybody in the seafood supply chain that's holding a live product, real-time snapshots of the water quality diagnostics, so that they can preemptively stop anything from happening in case something's going to jeopardize that quality. And again, our kind of market, we focus on commercial fishing enterprises, aquaculture enterprises, as well as enterprise seafood firms. And kind of the big things that we use in terms of terminology are live holding, logistics, water chemistry diagnostics, traceability, and remote monitoring. Yeah, and that's enough.
Thanks, Sheamus. Quick question for you. Is there a big difference between the supply chain monitoring for, say, like an aquaculture firm, a farm fish, versus something that's caught wild? Is there various steps in the middle there that are different?
Yeah, there definitely is. So that's one thing where I think we've become really innovative, just in the design of our products, because of their ease of use, and we're using relatively easy to use technology such as Bluetooth and mobile applications. We can collect that data quite easily, and because we're wireless and tetherless, our actual sensors move with the product as it goes through the supply chain as well. So the design and approach that we've taken with our solutions wasn't just necessarily to address one single supply chain. We've kind of made it adaptive so that it can be deployed anywhere.
And then you said you're commercially available since 2018. What were these seafood companies using for software before, like an ERP system similar to SAP?
Not necessarily SAP. That's more for very large enterprises. To be honest, a lot of them are just using accounting systems, so Sage, ACPAC, different things like that, and they would just be manually plugging in all the data. So what we've done is we've actually kind of built the dockside out data and kind of automated that whole process, so eliminating manual data entry, which saves time. And again, as I was mentioning, it just has value proposition in seeing the data in real time as well. And in terms of our sensor technology, a lot of practices left individuals using strip tests or a manual probe to check water quality conditions, and they'd be recording these on pieces of paper that would only be accessible if you're in the area, and that was leaving time in between sampling. So if you take a typical lobster pound, even if they're testing the water quality 3 times daily, that's still leaving 8 hours of exposure to harmful conditions. So using real-time technology, they can sit at the comfort of their home and view everything on their phone and get real-time notifications.
That, I'm sure that's also very helpful. A lot of your clients are probably rural-based companies, so maybe to centralize some operational pieces might be good for their operations.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much everybody's rural, and interconnected, and see exactly the overall business picture. So cloud-based software, when they have access to that data in real time, has made a big difference.
So speaking of real time and data collection, I have one of those globes right here in my hand. Can you explain a little bit more how this product came to be? I guess you're listening to a lot of customers and their needs, and built this product to spec, I guess, to what they're looking for. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we experienced using a ton of different sensors off the shelf integrated into our platform. So we took some of those kind of things, that what was good and what was bad of each sensor technology that we were using, and kind of put it full focus and worked with our clients in the design of this product. This is one version of the product, but kind of as you mentioned, it's a ball. So this is what we use for logistics sensors, what we would call it. So take a crate of lobster, if you're a buyer and you really wanted to audit somebody's system, well, you can give them one of these. They put it in the crate of Lobster, and it takes all the data all the way through, all the way to your facility, and you offload it, and you have everything timestamped to understand exactly what that product went through. It's also, we have fixed sensors, so they're all wireless. They're lithium ion battery powered, but we can fix these to certain areas. A cloud-based software, so you can view everything in real time remotely. But this one here is particular. It's a ball just because of the easy use, and the proprietary design of this allows us to do a lot more within seafood operations that other sensors can't do.
And I guess the form factor as well, if you're thinking outside the box, if I have an ROV that I inspect aquaculture pens with, for instance, you could probably easily grab this with an ROV and remotely monitor your operations,
exactly,
correct?
Yeah. They're quite small. We have 6 core parameters that's being read off of that one unit. So kind of the design of how small it is very unique. So on that point, I think when Dave was on here doing this Tenant talk, we're doing work with Kraken Robotics. So we deployed on their current catfish. We actually deployed a sensor with them. Just because of the small payload, it's relatively easy to put in.
And it's independent, it has its own power source, right?
Exactly, yeah. And its own data storage, data cloud, everything, yeah.
So just speaking of the Kraken project, I know you work closely with a lot of other members here at Cove. I just want to touch base on some of the collaboration you've done with some other tenants, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So we looked for expertise with different companies throughout Cove, whether it's the fabrication, design, the sourcing of parts, different things like that. I think that was one of the biggest benefits for us, was actually working with third-party contractors directly here within our reach. So kind of the whole collaborative approach made a lot of sense, and really kind of helped us with our R&D to get the product to exactly where we want it to be.
That's great, especially for a young company to be able to lean on some of those experienced people and some of that knowledge. I'm sure was a big help.
Definitely, yeah.
So going forward, 2 years in commercial success so far. I guess marketing this product is going to be kind of your next year or so, correct?
Yeah. That's kind of the future of the company. So what I like to say is that we've simplified a lot of our service offerings. So while this, sensor globe may not collect traceability data, it does collect traceability data in the sense of how it moves through the supply chain with particular batches or lots of fish. So that is kind of the focus, and that's what we see moving forward as a big opportunity.
Fantastic. On some macro stuff, you work with a lot of customers in the seafood industry. Did they see some trends because of COVID? I know when it first happened in China and most of those imports stopped, but has some of that stuff rebounded since?
Yeah. I think we're fortunate here in Nova Scotia specifically, where we have a lot of clients. Protein's something that's demanded by the world regardless. So I think because it is a luxury product, there was a bit of hesitation just because restaurants and other things have shut down. But protein is a big source for the human race. So we were fortunate to see a little bit of a dip, but I think it picked up quite heavily afterwards. And for us, I think a good thing is it really enabled clients to understand the use of technology. So we've had clients that without our system, they were quite worried because of COVID and their children weren't in school. They would actually have to stay home, and because they were using our cloud-based systems, they could actually work from home. So rather than actually having to go into the office and worry about the kind of public health and safety side of things, they were actually able to work from home using cloud-based software.
Oh, that's pretty powerful. Otherwise, they would have to come in, and it might not be possible at that point. So yeah, exactly. It's a very nice case study there. And you mentioned it is a luxury product, Lobster, but I don't think a lot of people understand as it goes through the supply chain how much the price of lobster increases as it goes through the supply chain. Because I don't know the exact number. You probably do, like how much it might be worth in an export market compared to what the dockside price may be.
Yeah, and I think, it changes all the time. It's quite volatile, but the big thing to understand is, each time a lobster is handled or changes environment, it increases its stress level. So, optimizing your supply chain and limiting the amount of exposure it has to anything that might jeopardize the health of the product is one thing. And getting it from, call it point A to point B, it takes a lot. You think of yourself traveling to China, it takes a lot of itinerary and organization. So It's the same thing when you're doing it for, a large order of product and making sure that it gets there, and the risk associated with it in doing so. That's really what drives the price up.
For sure. So you collaborated well with other companies. Is there a point here for you to reach out to maybe someone in the audience today if they want to work together with you? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, we're all ears. We're finding new use cases for our products all the time. So anything that you might resonate with somebody that they think applies to what they're looking to do, or they want to learn more, we're definitely open to hearing about it.
Fantastic. And your website again is
sednatech.io.
Perfect. And then all your contact information is on there. People can reach out and get in touch. And I know you've been here at Cove primarily every day. So there's a good chance if people are watching that are other Cove members, that they can bump into you here as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think that's it, Sheamus, unless we had any other comments from the audience. But I really do appreciate your time. It's good to understand where you guys are going and learn more about the company, but also this really cool product that I will give back to you in about 5 minutes.
No problem.
So thank you again, Sheamus MacDonald, the co-founder of Sedna Technologies. Thanks, Sheamus. And just before we sign off here, I just want to talk about next week as well. So we do this every Tuesday, 1 o'clock Atlantic, Halifax time. Next week, we're joined by Dave Rodis of Rodis Communications. They've been very active in helping companies really embrace this kind of digital trend that has happened throughout the last few months. And they've been a key supporter and a key driver in some of these digital trends that we're seeing. So really looking forward to chatting with Dave next week. You can sign up at coveocean.com/events. And again, Sheamus, thank you very much.